Okay,
Okay.
so I think we're ready to go. So as you can see, Rob Richard, Senior Director of Government Relations for the Wisconsin Farm Bureau. Going to talk about Wisconsin Farm Bureau policy development process. And why is the, here we go. So I want to talk about why policy development is important for our Farm Bureau members. As most of you already know, Wisconsin Farm Bureau is the preeminent farm organization in the state. And we are highly respected at all levels of government, whether it's local at the town or county level, at the state level down at the Capitol in Madison, or amongst our federal policymakers out in Washington, D.C. And we are respected, and we're often sought out for our opinion because a lot of legislators, policymakers understand that we develop a well thought out policy positions from our grassroots members, and that gives us tremendous credibility. They understand our process. They understand that our members take considerable amount of time to come up with ideas, discuss ideas, weed out the good ones, the bad ones, and develop a policy that makes sense for agriculture. We're also a nonpartisan organization, and we focus on sound public policy for agriculture as a whole. That means we can work across the aisle, whether it's Republicans, Democrats, Independents. We focus on the ag issue. We don't necessarily focus on the politics, the campaign, something like that. So it's more focus on educating policymakers on policy that makes sense for our farmers in the state of Wisconsin. So I want to give you a little policy development 101 for the grassroots member. 5 easy steps that you can take to succeed in taking an idea that you have and getting it introduced as a resolution, maybe passed at the county level, where it's then taken to the state policy development committee, and ultimately will go before the voting delegation at the annual meeting. So the first step is a plan for input. You've come up with the idea and you'd like to see Farm Bureau support that idea. So now what do you do? I guess like anything else in life, you come up with a thought or an idea, a concept, you want to run it past others to get their input and see what they think. Talk to your neighbors, talk to your family members, talk to agribusiness leaders in the local community, talk to your local Farm Bureau, county leaders. Maybe they'll give you an idea that, well, that's something we've already discussed recently and it didn't pass, or, it was brought up, here's why it didn't pass, maybe we should take another shot at it again. So get that input from people close to you and to see if it's an idea worthy that should be moved forward. And then use any constructive feedback you get to decide whether you want to move forward or not. So some of the issues that were brought up with our state policy development committee this spring, and that they wanted GR staff to write issue papers on or issue backgrounders on, is water quality, labeling and marketing of ag products, and the Farm Bill. So each spring, our state policy development committee comes up, or they ask, what ideas or what's out there that ag should be concerned about, what should we keep an eye on, what's something that we should move forward and be proactive on. And so this committee kind of talks amongst themselves, they get input from other members from across the state, and they really guide the GR team in terms of here's what we would like to see an issue backgrounder on to help our members maybe focus on some key issues that are happening out there. So this year for 2017, the 3 up here again are water quality, labeling, and the Farm Bill. I'm not going to go through these 3 in detail here. I'll explain in the next slide where you can find the information for these issue backgrounds, but I just want to give you an idea of what you may see as a focus on for 2017. And then obviously, what other issues concern you or other members? Are you talking to other Farm Bureau members from across your county or other members from across the state? These are things that you might want to think of and focus on, and maybe put together a paper or a resolution to move forward at your next meeting. So step 2, how do you write a good resolution? So I'm going to go through a few things here to help you with that process. First of all, I would ask you to check the current Wisconsin Farm Bureau policy or the American Farm Bureau policy to make sure you're not replicating something that's already in our policy book. For the state policy book, go to the WFBF website, have the address up there, and click onto the Government Relations tab. If you scroll down just a little bit, you'll see a link to the 2017 Farm Bureau policy book. And there you can look through all the policy that we have, get an understanding of where we're already at in terms of policy, and see if that works with what you're thinking, or if you see that there's a need for a change, then you can work on your resolution from there. If you're looking at doing a federal resolution, then for AFB policy to do a check, I would contact the local Farm Bureau district coordinator, or you can contact the GR staff here in Madison. We'll be happy to help you. So continuing with writing the good resolution, the effective resolution, I would ask, or we would ask that you be succinct in writing the resolution. There's no reason to get wordy. There are forms that we ask you to use. Most counties will have those forms. If you ask the county president or the county Farm Bureau treasurer, clerk, that they will have those. So use that form and be very succinct in what you're trying to say. If you have a new idea or new concept, or you think there's a little bit explanation that might be needed, then obviously feel free to write a few sentences or a paragraph to explain that, but be to the point. And also I would stick with public policy. Internal matters that deal with Farm Bureau, the board, things like that, those go directly to our board. So stick with public policy. That's something that our board and the GR staff, when go down to lobby on your behalf, it sticks with those public policy positions and nothing necessarily internal. The next step, step 3, is how to take action. So you have your idea, you've talked to people about it, you think it's a good idea, and you want to move forward. So the first thing you want to do is get that resolution approved at the county annual meetings. Right now, county annual meetings will be happening this year from August 13th through August 19th. So I'd find the date of when your county meeting is actually going to be occurring, and get your resolution written, get it introduced as needed. So when the county annual meeting is happening, there's going to be an opportunity for you maybe to get up and discuss why you want this introduced, or why you want Farm Bureau to support this policy. And if discussion is warranted on your idea, be prepared to defend that resolution. I've been to some county meetings where you'll have a little bit of discussion, debate on why it's a good idea, or it's been visited in the past and don't necessarily want to take it up now. So that's probably going to occur at that county annual meeting. It's always good to understand both the pros and cons of what you're proposing. That goes with anything. And in particular, I guess, for my example, as I lobby for legislation on your behalf down state capitol, if I'm going to testify in favor of a bill, I always want to prepare more for what I may get questions on in opposition than necessarily being what's pro for that bill. Always understand and try to be able to answer the questions that come back to you, and maybe why an idea isn't good. And then you have to defend why it is good and why you need to move forward. And the voting members at that annual meeting at the county level will then decide if your idea will move forward as a county resolution. They'll actually take a vote on it at that annual meeting. So the next step, let's say that your resolution is successful, they've had the vote, the county will then pass along to the state office. And then our staff here, my colleague Karen in particular, will process all the resolutions that come in from all the counties from across the state. And we'll get anywhere maybe from 400 to 500 resolutions total. A lot of them will be the same, because a lot of resolutions will come in based on the issue backgrounders that we've put out. But you have some counties that may send in 4 resolutions. You may have some counties that send in 30. It all depends. But Karen will process those resolutions, and she'll put them together in a packet for the State Policy Development Committee to then take action on. So this committee meets usually in early November, and they'll spend 2 days kind of going over all the resolutions that have come in, and they'll decide which resolutions to recommend for the entire voting delegation to vote on at the Farm Bureau winter or annual meeting in early December. So who makes up the State Policy Development Committee? The membership is 9 Farm Bureau members, 1 from each board district across the state. They serve 1 2-year term. And then the WFBF Vice President, who's now Don Radke, will serve as chair. And then the YFF chair, the P&E chair, the Dairy Committee chair, and the YFA chair close out the membership of that committee. So finally, the last step to get your resolution passed and put into the policy book. So if your resolution was recommended by that State Policy Committee meeting that happens in November, it will appear before the voting delegates at the annual meeting in early December. At this, if you're going to be going to the annual meeting, you'll want to check in with your county or your district delegates on your proposal. Try to figure out if anybody's talking about it. Are there questions? Are there concerns? Is there any lobbying that you may have to do on that proposal? Just kind of be aware of discussions that are occurring. And usually all the delegates will get together before the floor session on Monday and talk about the resolutions that will be coming up on the floor. So there'll be an opportunity for you to also hear what people may or may not be saying about the resolution that you want supported. There's an opportunity for amendments in this process, but I don't want to get into the weeds on this. It's a little complicated, but not too terribly complicated, but it's more than I think we need to get into discussion for today. So at that point, I guess that pretty much describes the Policy Development Committee process for the Wisconsin Farm Bureau. It's, again, the 30,000-foot view of how this happens. But if anybody has any questions, I'd be more than happy to answer them at this time.
Right. So if anybody does have a question, you can just unmute yourself and actually ask that question to Rob. Or
Wendy, just want to let you know I cannot hear you.
Oh. Let's see. Oops. There we go. I'm coming over.
Okay. I have a posted question, and Wendy's going to help me out here. Get more? Any chat?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So Sarah asks, what is the most common mistake made when writing resolutions? I wouldn't say it's a mistake, but we do get a good number of people who write resolutions in which we already have policy for, or it's very close. So yes, I would re-emphasize that people take a look at our current policy and see if we have something very similar to what you're proposing, or if you want to make a minor change to existing policy that we have to clarify something, then maybe explain that clarification, the purpose of the clarification when you write that resolution. But I also want to reemphasize, it's not, again, not a mistake, but I would ask members to be very succinct in what they're proposing. And on the form, you'll see that, we ask that you describe or point out, where the policy should go, what page number, what page line, to get at exactly what you're trying to accomplish and make it clear for us as well.
So if you have any other questions, you can either unmute yourself and ask that question, or if you go towards the top or the bottom of your screen, there should be a toolbox or a toolbar where you're going to be able to chat or ask the question. So definitely feel free to type those in there. But I'm going to actually have Rob go back to the issue slide, which I think was like the second or the third slide. Challenge his technology skills here.
Get there. Just go PowerPoint.
Yep. And then just use your arrow to go back.
Okay.
So Rob talked about some of those hot topics that we have put issue backgrounders on, including water quality, labeling, and the Farm Bill. The question at the bottom, what other issues concern you or our members? This is a great opportunity for you to give us feedback about what issues are happening. I think John is on the call. We were at the District 2 Policy Development meeting last night. But Rob, what do you think besides those issues might be some other topics, or what are some things that you're currently working on here at Farm Bureau?
Well, right now we're still waiting for the state budget to get passed, and we're watching the state budget for a number of issues right now. They have yet, or the Joint Finance Committee has yet to take up anything with regard to Department of Ag, Trade, and Consumer Protection. There's also a number of provisions within DNR that have not been taken up yet. So right now we're watching those, and there isn't much that can be done in terms of policy development with regard to that, but that's what, at the GR level, that's what we're looking at right now. With regard to water quality though, there is, you have to have a long-term outlook on water quality in the state of Wisconsin, because the issue is not going away. As some of you know, or most of you know, we're having some issues up in the northeast part of the state, Door, Kewaunee, Brown counties. So there's some water quality issues that people are looking at very closely in that area of the state. But then they're also thinking, what can we do statewide to maybe prevent or help mitigate some of the issues that they're facing up there? So we'll be keeping an eye on that here within the next few months, but also looking probably the next few years out. I imagine this issue is not going away. With regard to labeling and marketing, there's just a general concern that, and this is probably more of a federal issue than it is a state issue, but there are a number of members concerned at how food is being labeled. What do labels mean? What do some of the terms mean that are being used? Is it deceptive? Is it misleading? So I think there's frustration amongst a good number of members that would like to bring clarity, maybe further regulation with regard to food labeling. And those are some of the questions that we ask in these issue backgrounders. So if you've read an issue background, or if you haven't yet, basically we give you a general history or a brief description of what the issue is. But then we ask questions in the issue backgrounder on how our members want to move forward with that issue, or if we should move forward at all. So I would ask you to read them, take a look at the questions, or if maybe there's some questions that we're not asking that you would like asked as well, and maybe that's where a resolution could come forward. But moving into the fall, it's going to be fairly quiet. I know we will keep an eye on those water quality issues that are happening, in particular in the northeast Wisconsin. There's some legislation that we're looking at, keeping an eye on. But for the most part, it's going to be hopefully a fairly quiet late summer and not too busy here in early fall. Lauren, Wood County folks on phosphorus level. I'm sorry, Lauren asked, our water quality discussion in Wood County focused on phosphorus levels and runoff. There seems like there are many different ways to go with the water quality issues. Yeah, I think as I just explained, Lauren, you hit it right on the head with that one. We would like to see a more local approach on how we deal with these issues instead of come up with some statewide standard on dealing with an issue that might be occurring in one particular region of the state. So as they pop up, and they are popping up amongst town boards, county boards, there's more of a push on localized or regional ordinance or local regulation to deal with these issues. And so we in the GR department here are keeping a close eye on what's popping up across the state. That's all I got right now.
Rob?
Any other questions out there from anyone?
Rob?
If you don't get a question today, if you're online right now with us, obviously you can always email me or call me in the office to talk about it. Or if you're watching this recorded, same thing. Obviously, feel free to reach out to the GR staff. Nope. We may have
Stan's trying to ask a question.
Stan, okay.
Hi, Rob. Stan Gizmerich here. This got brought up yesterday, and yes.
Stan, if you're talking, I cannot hear you.
Okay, hold on a second. We're working like. Okay, can you hear me now? I'll send it.
Stan, there should be a toolbar like at the top or the bottom of your screen. And one of the options should be to chat or to comment. And you can
Okay.
just type your message in there.
Okay, I can do that. Bear with me a minute.
You might have to move your cursor over it, or if you're on a tablet or something, your finger. But while we're trying to figure that out, Rob, can you talk about how Farm Bureau members, let's say there is an update on water quality, where can they find the most current info?
In terms of legislation or what's happening across the state.
Yeah.
I guess I would follow the Ag Newswire. If you haven't signed up for Ag Newswire, that might be a good way to do it. This is put out weekly by our public relations staff here. It will really tie you in to the latest issues that are happening in the week. It'll give you headlines from across the state, even from across the nation, on issues that are occurring. So if you want to keep up to speed in terms of the press, what's being said, what's being done, whether it's a local newspaper article or from the State Journal or Milwaukee Journal Sentinel, we'll usually have those articles in there. Otherwise, if you want up to date as much as it gets, always feel free to shoot us an email or give us a call, and we can give you the latest there.
I see it.
Any luck from Stan?
Stan looks like he's typing.
Give us a thumbs up on that, Stan.
Okay.
All right. Well, I don't think we can get Stan's question to come through, but Stan, if you want to send an email to either Rob or I, we can get that question answered for you, and we'll definitely share that with everyone else who's on the call today. So
Okay.
feel
Absolutely.
free to send that our way. Rob, do you want to provide your contact information?
Sure. Phone number here is, or phone number for me, direct line, 608-828-5703. 608-828-5703. Otherwise, email rrichard@wfbf.com. rrichard@wfbf.com. So with that, I think we're going to end the session unless last second question comes in. Okay. All right. Thanks, everybody. Appreciate it. Stop sharing.